It is inevitable as moms. At some point in our motherhood journey, we are going to feel in a rut. Whether that's a day of feeling in a rut where things are just not going right, your kids are driving you crazy, maybe somebody said something that hurt you and now you can't get over it, or whether it's a whole season. And I can pretty much guarantee if you're at the beginning of your motherhood, you're going to experience both of these probably often, probably more than you can even imagine you will, because motherhood never ends, but neither does life and circumstances. So, today I'm going to be talking about how to get yourself out of a rut or get through a rut, whether it is a day long rut or a long term rut. Hey, Glue Sticks, Sarah here, back for another Work-Life Glue podcast episode, and I cannot wait to talk about this. It's just been on my heart after dealing with a lot personally myself through relationships, through family situations, through being ill, through just being human. I've experienced lots of different kinds of ruts over the last 7 years as a mom, and going through emotional times or just feeling less motivated than normal is hard enough before becoming a parent. But after being a parent and having to still care for your kids and be on your A game as much as you possibly can because you want to be a good mom, it just makes everything so much more amplified and harder to get over. So I've realized, as somebody who loves to improve systems, to find ways to improve my life and to share it online, which is basically what I do, that's my job. I have just been reflecting on the different ways that I come through ruts, get over ruts, and survive and thrive through a rut, whether it's a day long rut or a long term rut. And I thought it would be a helpful podcast because I know we all feel like we've been in a rut, in a ditch, in a hole, a black hole, a sinkhole for the last 2+ years now. And while we've found some coping mechanisms, I hope, there are still lots of things that come our way. And it's just important to have some tools and to not just react to what happens to you. So I'm actually going to save this episode for myself to look back on because it can be so easy when you're going through something hard to just react and kind of forget all the tools in your toolbox. So I thought I would incorporate them all into one episode for you guys to help encourage you and give you some tips and ideas for if you're experiencing this yourself. If you are new here, hi, my name is Sarah. I'm the mom to 3 little girls, ages just about to be 7, 4, and 1. And I love to help busy moms create balance that sticks through various methods. I have a YouTube channel. I make videos where I show day in the life videos of me homeschooling and running an online business with my 3 girls with me full time, as well as tip videos and hacks and all kinds of inspirational and helpful videos for busy moms, as well as this podcast that I have on podcast apps, as well as on YouTube if you actually want to watch. I have a beautiful background now, so that's kind of fun. And then I also am a subscription box owner, which I'll talk about later in this episode, but I created a subscription box called the Work-Life Glue Box. It's a monthly subscription box for busy moms to help them focus on one area of their life every month to improve. There's a whole community. We have products that come every month that will help you in that area, also help pamper you and bring your family together. And it's just a huge mission of mine to give back to the mom community that could always use some more love and some more intentionality and some more help. I mean, every mom needs help to some degree. So that's the mission behind my business. So I'm going to start the episode talking about ruts that you have for like a day or two, just small little things that happen, or maybe nothing even happens. Maybe you are having that time of the month and you just don't feel great or you're sick. What are some things we can do that's not just like turning on the TV and vegging out that can help us get through that rut? And then later on in the episode, I'm going to talk about some tips for if you're in a longer term rut, like maybe there was a death in the family and you're really having a hard time processing it and you just don't feel like you can be the best mom you can be. Or maybe you've had a falling out with somebody you really love and it's bothering you. Maybe you're just have like a chronic illness or you've been really sick and that's been really hard. Maybe your marriage is on the rocks. Maybe you have financial stress. I mean, there's so many things that can come at us as moms, some that we expect, some that we don't. And I just think it's so helpful if we at least have some ideas of things we can do at the beginning. So it helps us to get through it, but also helps us to not feel like a failure, like we're just trying to get by. we're actually being intentional through that hard time. So let's talk about daily ruts. Like you're just having a bad day. Maybe somebody said something that was really rude and it bothered you. Your kids are jumping off the walls, driving you crazy. The weather's really bad. You can't get outside, or maybe you can, which is one of the tips. We all have those days where we're like in a funk. So what can you do? And this is more like if your kids are with you a lot. Obviously, like if you're at work, there's probably different things you could do, but some of these you can do regardless. But I am recording this episode just with the thought that you're going to have your kids with you a lot, because that just, I feel like, amplifies everything, because we want to shield our kids from our emotions and baggage and trauma and stuff like that. But we're still human and we have to deal with it ourselves and try to be a mom at the same time. So my first tip, if you are experiencing a rut that's a temporary short-term rut, is to just cross as much off your to-do list as possible. If you can move some stuff to a different day, that would be great. I think it's just sometimes we're in a rut because we put too much on our plate, and now we're getting mad at our kids because they're being kids and needing us, and we just feel overwhelmed. So if you're able to cross some stuff off your to-do list, that would be my first tip. Second, one of my favorite things to do when I'm feeling really overwhelmed is to just pull out something unexpected. Maybe I just need a second where my kids are not needing me, or maybe my toddler's going through a lot and it's driving me crazy and I can't figure out how to balance everything. This is a great time to pull out something unexpected. So maybe you ban slime in your house. Maybe you get it out during this time just to save your sanity, and then your kids will actually be engaged in it for a while. I love to pull out my crazy craft bin, which I've had since my daycare days when I was a daycare provider. And basically it's just a bin full of random stuff, pom-poms, stickers, cutouts of different shapes and things from different crafts we've done, popsicle sticks, muffin tin liners, like you name it, it's probably in there. I pull that out. I give them a big piece of construction paper. You could even do like a giant one if you have a roll of paper, and just give them some glue, give them some markers or crayons and some scissors, and let them go to town. I promise you, it will be worth it. Every kid I've ever known has loved this, and they've stayed engaged for at least 30 minutes, sometimes way longer. You could set up a quick sensory bin, maybe put some dried beans and just some random action figures, some puzzle pieces, have them do a puzzle, find all the pieces. There's so many resources on Instagram and stuff. You don't have to be fancy though. Just grab whatever you have, dump it into a bin, and let them go to town. Kinetic sand is another great thing. My kids love kinetic sand, so I like to always have that on hand, as well as some loose parts like sensory kits that people have made on Etsy. I'll link the shop below that I get mine from. It's just fun to have on hand for times just like this. My kids lately have been obsessed with buttons. I got a jar full of white buttons from my grandma. She's been downsizing everything, and my kids have been getting it out all the time to thread and like lace, to glue onto things, to make jewelry out of. Like, they've just been loving it, and they're just white buttons. And then another great thing to get out is water. If you have like a water, like a play sink, that would be great. Otherwise, just some bowls. Get their Barbies out or their action figures and let them clean them, or give them some fake toy dishes. Let them make soup or whatever with play food. They love water. Another idea is to just have a 20-minute rest time where everybody separates in the house. You can put your baby or your toddler in their crib, put some music on for them, give them some books or what have you. That is okay to do. They actually recommend that for new moms if their baby's crying a lot or if they're getting overwhelmed, to just leave them in their crib, obviously in a safe way. But 20 minutes, or depending on the age, maybe less time. But older kids, 1 and older, can handle 20 minutes as long as it's safe. And all of you separate, have some quiet time. Don't make it like a punishment thing. Just say, Mama is really overwhelmed right now. We all need a refresh. So we're all going to go to our different spots. I'm going to go here. You're going to go here. This is not a punishment. It's just a way to all of us calm down and start our day fresh. And while you're doing this, you could just rest, but I would encourage you not to like go on your phone and veg out. I would encourage you to use this time with intention. If you're a person of faith, this is a great time to pray, maybe journal, get out your Bible and read it, to re-encourage yourself of why you're even here, what your purpose is, and that you're not alone. You could use this time to call your spouse, your mom, your friend, your grandma, just for a quick talk, like a quick pep talk. You could use this time to cry, which is a good thing. I know I don't like to cry, but it's cathartic. It's actually beneficial for us. And you can also listen to uplifting music. If you're Christian, you could listen to worship music. That always helps me, and it also does help me cry. So it's double benefit. And also, I think it's so important to think positive thoughts. It's so easy when we're in a rut to just bombard ourselves with negativity. My kid never listens to me. Nothing ever goes right. I can never catch a break. Oh, we're sick again. That friend's so mean. Like, all these negative thoughts come to us. But when you're trying to get out of that space, you cannot keep thinking those negative thoughts and expect positive outcomes to all of a sudden feel good. You have to stop those thoughts and translate them, channel them into new positive thoughts. So you may even have to lie to yourself. Everything is going to work out. Maybe you don't believe that, but you just have to remind yourself that this too shall pass. This is a phase. We will get through this. I'm going to let this go. Like, whatever you have to say to yourself to channel the positive vibes is a good thing for 20 minutes. And then you can get your kids back and do some of these other tips to move forward. Another thing I really like to have in my house is a few positive quotes. Now, I know that's like a common thing. People have like quotes all over their house these days. You go to Hobby Lobby and it's just like quote art everywhere. But I think there's a good reason why, because if we're intentional about the quotes we have and actually use them, it can really help us. For example, I have a plaque above our kitchen sink in the window that I bought a few years ago, and it is what I go to when I'm having a really hard day. And it says on it, gratitude. On one side, it says things that a lot of moms complain about. And then on the other side, it says basically the positive way to look at that quote unquote negative thing. So for example, on the left side, it says a house to clean. And then on the right side, it says a safe place to live. So it's giving you the things we grumble about and turning them into a positive. It has early wake ups, children to love. That's one that I struggle with because my kids do wake up early. Laundry to do, clothes to wear, dirty dishes, food to eat. We are so blessed to have food to eat. Crumbs under the table mean that you're having family meals. Shopping to do means you have money to use. And lots of noise, which is super triggering for me, means a house full of people to love. So I have these quotes throughout my house. I also have an Anna Green Gables quote in my homeschool room and playroom that's reminding me to focus on the little things, because that's truly what makes a beautiful life. And I've just been really intentional about those quotes. So if you have some of them, revisit them when you're feeling like this. And if you don't have them, hang some up or put one in your planner or wherever where you can go to it when you're feeling overwhelmed or in a rut. Another thing that can be super duper helpful when you're having a bad day is to just change the scenery. I think especially in the winters in Minnesota, especially this winter, it's been so freaking cold. So it's been like 20 below with the wind chill for weeks for the most part. And I've just been going stir crazy. And I think a lot of a rut can just be from your circumstance of being in the same place all the time. So changing the scenery, going outside if you can. If it's too cold or the weather's really bad, go for a drive. Go to a different room of your house. Like maybe you hang out in the living room. Go hang out in one of their bedrooms for a little while, or go let them come into your bed and read stories. Like, just get out of the physical area that you've been in and change it up. Another thing I use often is having a dance party. And this is a surefire way to change everybody's mood and to laugh and to get the negative energy out and the positive energy in. If you can buy a $10 disco ball, even better, just amplifies all the good feelings. And we love to use just like silk scarves and dance with them. We put on some Encanto music or our favorite, Disney movie songs, and we just dance. And you need to get in there and dance with your kids. Don't just let them dance. Get in there and dance with them. First of all, they will love it. Or you'll embarrass them if they're older, which is always fun and puts parents in a good mood. And it's going to feel good and silly, and it feels good to feel silly once in a while. I think we take ourselves too seriously sometimes as parents, and silliness is a great thing when you're in a rut or anytime. My next tip is to be honest with your kids. I think so often as moms, especially when we've dealt with trauma as kids of some sort, I feel like everybody's dealt with some kind of trauma. We want to protect our kids from that. We don't want them to have a mom who's always sad or upset, or we hear all these things on social media and in the news about what TV can do to kids and what moms who are upset can do to their kids and yelling and spanking and all these things. And it's so easy to let that pour into our motherhood. Like we have to be perfect or we're going to mess up our kids. I feel like that's a huge message basically that's going around. And you are human. It is okay to be human. Do we want to traumatize our kids? Do we want to be yelling at them because we've had a bad day? Absolutely not. But I think not only is it helpful, but I think it's actually beneficial to be truthful with our kids, not fully, like especially the details of things, but to let your kids know, I'm really sad right now. Somebody said something really mean to me and it hurt my feelings, and I'm sorry I can't be the happy, excited mom I usually am, but it's just going to take me some time. Or my body just feels weird today. Maybe if you're on your cycle and they haven't heard about that, maybe they have and you can explain to them. But if they haven't, you can just be honest. Like my body just doesn't feel good right now. And I'm just having a hard time moving at the pace I normally do and being happy. I just feel kind of icky for no reason. I think this is so good to tell our kids. We don't want our kids to grow up and think that being an adult is easy. It is so far from easy. And we want them to understand from a young age that we're all human. Just because we're adults doesn't mean we're superheroes, doesn't mean we have special powers that make life easy and make it easy to be positive all the time. We do not. And I think it's so helpful and good for our kids to see us having a hard day and working through that, because then they can learn to do the same thing. And they won't grow up to be adults who think they have to be perfect all the time. And then when they're in a rut, they feel like they're failing at life and like there's something wrong with them because they've never seen an adult have a hard time. I think there's very healthy, good, positive ways to let our kids know what adulthood really is like without traumatizing them or shaming them or being hurtful to them. And then my last tip is to create some boredom buster sticks. So I have some popsicle sticks that I have had for years, and we just went through a few years ago and wrote down tons of different activities we love to do. So kinetic sand, playing with play food, doing a craft, painting with watercolors. I mean, you name it. I actually have a whole podcast episode with 25 different activities you can do with your kids like that you can just easily grab and go. I'll link that in the show notes. I think it's a really helpful episode as an extension to this episode. But just having those sticks makes it easy. If you're overwhelmed and your kids are like, I'm so bored, and they're driving you crazy and you just need them to do something, you can pull that out. If your brain's just like, I can't think of another thing to plan for my kids, have them pull out a boredom buster stick. Have them do that for, set a timer. We're going to do this thing for 20 minutes. And then the next kid will get to pick a stick or whatever it is. And just use those as a tool for days when you really need it. I'm going to pause and interrupt this episode and just encourage you guys, if you are feeling really overwhelmed, maybe with your systems, maybe you just feel like so much of your life you just don't have together and you wish you had a resource that could help you get your life back in order, help you focus on what's truly important, help you get more time in your day, help you focus on meal planning and organizing and all of the things. Well, guess what? I have an amazing solution for you. I have my subscription box, as I mentioned earlier. It's the Worklife Glue Box, and it is designed for this exact purpose. For moms who feel like they are stretched too thin, like they just don't know where to start with organizing their life and getting the purpose back in their lives. So every single month, if you are a member of the Worklife Glue Box, you will receive a beautiful box, as you can see here, if you're watching the video, filled with 6 different products, 4 practical products that are all centered around helping you with a certain area of your life. We've tackled time management. We're currently tackling relationships. We will tackle a lot of other more detailed things like meal planning and getting your van or car in order and things like that, but also bigger picture things like mindset and routines. And so if that's something you're really struggling with, I would love to have you as part of our Glue Stick community. You also will receive one pampering product because what mom doesn't need more pampering in her life, and one parenting product because I am all about bringing families together. So it's a product that's a game or an activity, something you can do as a family to really strengthen your bond, because what's more important than that? So if you're interested, I will have details below, and I hope to see you over there. And I cannot wait to bless more moms with this amazing resource and really change their lives one box at a time. Now that we've talked about things you can do when you've been in a rut for a period of time, let's talk more what we can do if we are in a rut that is a longer period of time. Like I've mentioned, death in the family, falling out with somebody who you love, chronic illness, things like that are ruts for a long time. What can you do to still be a good mom, but still give yourself space to work through these things and heal, I guess you could say, or at least kind of pause some things in your life so that you can work through this hard time? The first thing I try to do, as somebody who loves to fix everything, is to kind of analyze where I'm at. So if it's a financial problem, we go to our budget and we look up and we think of a bazillion different things we can do to help earn more money or cut things out of the budget, depending on what's going on. I know with the pandemic, we have dealt with a lot of financial issues ourselves, and I know so many people have. So if we're going through something financial, we just try to look at the big picture, like what are all of our options? I think when we hit something that's stressful, often we just go to fear instead of like, let's look at the whole picture. And instead of getting fearful, let's see what positives we can find and see what our options even are. Same with like if you're having an issue with a family member, like what are all your options? Talk it all out. If you have a spouse, I think this is a great time to just, after the kids have gone to bed, or maybe they go somewhere or you go for a long drive, and you just talk and work it out as best you can. What are our options? What's the whole picture? What's the worst case scenario? What do we even have to choose from with solutions? Same thing if the issue is your child. Maybe you're going through a really hard time with a child. I have dealt through this a lot of times with some big issues with our kids. And if I let it, I will just sit and fester on it. Like, this is so hard. Why do they have to be this way? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know what to do. But when I really stop and just analyze the situation and remember, my child is a good child. I'm a good mom. This is our situation. What are our options? What are different things we could do? Do we need to get a doctor involved? Do we need to go to counseling? What books could I read? Who could I reach out to that could help me with this? What different things have I learned about that we could try with our child? When you really just stop worrying and focusing on all how hard it is, and you just really start to think of what's the big picture and what are our options, it can help you kind of detach from the fear or the anger or the sadness and start to figure out a solution, or at least figure out how to move forward. Another thing, if you are not doing this already, it's good to start, whether you are in a big rut or not, is to build in positivity into your day. I know that's a big buzzword, positive thinking, manifestation, blah, 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 blah. But it is biblical to some degree. And why not? Why not add more positivity to your day? What would it hurt? Fear and dwelling on negativity causes stress. Stress is horrible for your body. It's horrible for your brain. Positivity means you're happier. People like you more. People will treat you better. You'll enjoy life more. So even if you don't believe any of that other stuff, I don't think anybody can argue with the fact that being more positive is healthier and more fun. So I would encourage you to start saying affirmations every day. Maybe hang up a few on your bathroom mirror and say them when you're getting ready. Maybe even just, I will get through this. I am strong. I believe I can do anything. I believe God will lead the way. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, if you're a Christian. Little phrases that you want to continue playing in your head throughout the day, not just when you're saying the affirmations, but you want to put them into your mind. So when those negative thoughts come, you can replace it with the positive thought. And another extension of this is when you notice yourself saying something negative about your spouse, your kids, even if your issue isn't with them, but we've all heard of the person who had a bad day and they come home and kick the dog. Obviously the dog wasn't the being, the creature that did something wrong, but we often take our anger out and our frustrations out on the people we love most. And so instead of doing that, because it can be so easy, I know when I'm going through a hard time, I start to notice all the things that my husband drives me crazy with, like the socks that are right outside the hamper or, what have you. There's so many little stupid things that we focus on that really don't matter and aren't really even the issue that can cause a bigger issue because now your spouse is getting annoyed with you and your kids are annoyed because you're always nitpicking them. So, what you can do, just like the positive affirmations, is when you start to notice yourself having these negative thoughts about your spouse or your kids or your friend or whoever, is to try to start to notice and replace that thought. So, kind of like what I explained before, the little plaque I have in my kitchen where it takes something that we grumble about and makes it a positive. How could we take that thing that's driving us crazy, like my kids are so loud? How could I make it a positive? My kids love life. My kids are so excited to be alive. My kids have so much energy. It's beautiful. Okay. My spouse leaving laundry on the floor. I'm so grateful that we have laundry to throw on the floor. I'm so grateful that I have a spouse to throw laundry on the floor, whatever. Just trying to replace that negative with a positive to stop those negative thoughts, because the more you think them, the more they come and the worse you feel and the worse you treat people. And we don't want to make this even a bigger issue than the issue that's at hand. Another thing is remove items off of your to-do list and simplify the things you have to do. I know when I'm sick or I'm just going through a really hard time, I have to cut some things off my to-do list, and you're the only one who can answer that. But a lot of the extra activities with my kids, like the community ed and stuff, we cut. Play dates that require us to drive a long distance, we cut. All kinds of things, like me wanting to do projects around the house, I cut those. And I just say, Sarah, you have to say no to some things to give yourself some space. And then for the things you still have to do, because we're still adults and we're still moms, cooking, laundry, all of that stuff, cleaning, what can you do to simplify those things? So, for example, for meals, maybe you're going to repeat the same easy meals, the same 7 easy meals every single week, or you have 14 and you just rotate them so that you can simplify it so you don't have to think about it. So it's just one less thing to have to worry about. For cleaning, maybe you're going to do the bare minimum. Maybe you like to keep a super clean house and you're cleaning the baseboards and all the things. What could be the bare minimum? Maybe you don't clean the fridge till it really, really needs it, or the trim, you're going to wait till 6 months from now or whatever. Put some boundaries on it. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy to not do those things, to see the things piling up that you're not getting to, but you're telling yourself you're reserving this space for yourself right now to get through what you're going through, and you can get to those things later. And then plan more movie nights, plan more game nights, plan more things where you're still being a good mom and your kids are still having fun, but you're planning those things to kind of help you get through. And it's okay to use those things. It's okay to plan more date nights or plan more times when your kids are going to go sleep over somewhere. That is okay. I know this is super hard, and I know a lot of us feel like we don't have anyone to ask, but asking for help is so important. And it may not be, come help me deal with what I'm dealing with. Maybe it's, could you cook me supper? Or ask a friend to put a meal request out for you, for your family, and let people bless you with that. Maybe you reach out to your church and say, I'm really struggling with this. It would help so much if somebody could come mow our lawn for a week because we're dealing with the death of a loved one or something. Get creative and think of ways people could help you that are kind of outside the box. And if somebody offers as much as you want to say no, let them help. I think we say no too quickly to help. And I know for myself, if I can help somebody and they really need it, if they say no to that, it just kind of makes me sad because I really wanted to help them. People, if they offer to help you, they probably really want to help you. And so accept that help. Another thing is to really listen to your gut. I think when it comes to situations, we often wait to come up with a solution, especially when it comes to like kids' behavior and things like that, issues with our kids, because we doubt what we're truly thinking inside, and we could have had the solution already, but we are spending so much time worrying and thinking about it instead of just trying out different things that our mom gut is telling us to do. Your mom gut is so powerful. Listen to it. And I think the most important thing, it's okay to dwell for a season, for a short period of time on whatever's bothering you, whatever's been really hard. But you want to get to a place of being proactive and not reactive on figuring out a solution, or maybe not even a solution, but just figure out a way to cope with whatever it is. Maybe there is no solution, or you aren't the one who's going to come up with the solution. Somebody else has to figure out a solution. But what could you do to make your life still good while you're going through this? And I don't have the answer of what that actually is, but you need to sit down and really just think, okay, this is happening to me. I don't want to feel this way forever. What can I do? What little things can I do to make myself feel better until this is resolved, or at least to just get through and still love my life in the process? I truly hope this episode was helpful to give you guys some ideas of things you can do, whether you're going through a day of hard times or many months. I would love if you would not only save this episode and come back to it when you are having a hard day. I know I'm going to do that. I'm going to listen to my own advice because it's so easy to let the hard times overtake us and to forget all of these things, or to, quite frankly, not even want to look at them because you just want to be sad for a while, which is okay too. But when you get to a place where, okay, I'm ready to come out of this, or I'm ready to thrive through this, these are all great things to do. And I would really love if you would share this with another mom in your life, maybe a new mom or a mom going through hard times or just feeling overwhelmed. I think this can really help bless so many moms to have some tools to use to get through these hard times and to still be a good mom and feel good about what you're doing as a mom during the process. Because the worst thing of going through a rut is also feeling guilt because you're human and you're not being the best mom you can be. So if you can be more intentional with these tips through that hard time, it will help lessen the guilt and the mom shame of yourself and help you just recover sooner. Thank you guys so much for listening. I would love if you would subscribe and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts if you enjoyed this episode or any episode, so that more moms can find it and we can help bring some more light to moms who really need it. I would appreciate that so much. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your week. I'll talk to you soon.